At 37,000 feet, every single engine on a Boeing 747 can fail. It was June 24, 1982. British Airways Flight 009, City of Edinburgh, was on a routine leg from Kuala Lumpur to Perth, Australia. A Boeing 747, the undisputed queen of the skies, carrying 248 passengers and 15 crew members, was cruising through the night, a silent, powerful silver bird against the vast expanse. Captain Eric Moody, a veteran pilot with over 10,000 flight hours, commanded the flight deck. Alongside him were First Officer Roger Greaves and Senior Engineer Officer Barry Townley Freeman. They anticipated a quiet overnight journey, the kind where only the hum of the powerful Rolls-Royce engines broke the monotony. Around 1:40 a.m. local time, about 110 miles south of Jakarta, a strange phenomenon began to manifest. Passengers noticed a faint glow outside the windows, like distant lightning. It wasn't lightning. It was the first sign of a terrifying ordeal about to unfold. The glow intensified, becoming a luminous, otherworldly spectacle. Then the cabin began to fill with what looked like smoke, a fine, acrid mist that irritated eyes and throats. Panic, a slow-burning ember, began to stir amongst the passengers. On the flight deck, the crew observed a similar, more alarming display. St. Elmo's fire, typically a harmless electrical phenomenon, was dancing across the windshield, an eerie blue-white light. But this was far more intense than anything they'd ever witnessed. Suddenly, at 1:42 a.m., engine number 4, the outermost engine on the right wing, sputtered, surged, and then died. The roar of the engine was replaced by an unsettling silence, followed by the dull thud of its systems shutting down. The flight engineers scrambled to react. Within moments, engine number 2 on the left wing followed suit. Then number 1 and finally number 3. All 4 engines, the very heart of the giant aircraft, had ceased to function. The Boeing 747, a machine built for flight, was now a 350-ton glider. The cabin lights flickered, then died, plunging the aircraft into near darkness, illuminated only by emergency lighting and the strange, persistent glow outside. Oxygen masks deployed automatically, dropping from the overhead compartments, a chilling confirmation of the gravity of their situation. Captain Moody, with remarkable composure, announced to the passengers, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All 4 engines have stopped. We are doing our utmost to get them going again. I trust you are not in too much distress." An understatement of epic proportions. The cockpit was a maelstrom of warning lights and alarms. The altitude indicator spun downwards, rapidly shedding thousands of feet per minute. The crew initiated emergency procedures, attempting to restart the engines, a process that felt agonizingly slow. They were descending at a rate of 1,800 feet per minute, a controlled fall towards the dark waters of the Indian Ocean. At 37,000 feet, they had roughly 20 minutes before impact. The margin for error was non-existent. Survival hinged on a single, improbable event. What could cause all 4 engines of a modern jetliner to fail simultaneously? The crew initially suspected a fire or structural failure, but the instruments showed no such indications. The mystery deepened as they continued their descent. As they dropped below 26,000 feet, something miraculous began to happen. The air, growing denser, allowed engine number 4 to windmill and restart. A faint, welcome rumble filled the cabin, a sound of hope in the suffocating silence. Soon after, engine number 3 also roared back to life. With 2 engines operational, Captain Moody could begin to climb, albeit slowly, away from the impending disaster. The immediate threat of an ocean ditching was averted, but the flight was far from over. The plane still suffered from significant engine damage, and the visibility remained poor. The St. Elmo's fire persisted, and the cabin air was still thick with the strange haze. They needed to land, and quickly. The crew diverted to Jakarta's Halim Perdanakusuma International Airport. But even with 2 engines, landing a damaged 747 in low visibility, with compromised instruments, was an immense challenge. The ground radar was also struggling to track them accurately. As they approached Jakarta, the crew could smell sulfur and could see the persistent glow again. It was then that the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. They had flown directly through a plume of volcanic ash. Mount Galunggung, a volcano on Java, had erupted without warning. The ash, invisible to radar, had clogged the engines, causing them to flame out. The St. Elmo's fire was the ash particles electrically charging against the aircraft's surface. The ash acted like sandpaper, eroding the windshield and the leading edges of the wings. It was a testament to the resilience of the 747 and the skill of its crew that they had endured such an encounter and still had a chance to land. Captain Moody successfully landed the crippled 747 in Jakarta, guided by the airport's basic landing systems and his own acute judgment. As the aircraft finally touched down, the damaged windshield made it nearly impossible to see, forcing him to rely on the runway lights visible through a small, clear patch on the side. The relief in the cabin was palpable. Cheers erupted, tears flowed. All 263 souls on board had survived what should have been a catastrophic event. It was a triumph of human ingenuity and composure against the raw, unexpected power of nature. Post-flight inspection revealed severe damage. The engines were choked with ash, their internal components fused and abraded. The exterior of the aircraft was sandblasted, but the plane and its passengers were intact. British Airways Flight 009 became known as the Jakarta Incident or the Galunggung Glider. It's a stark reminder that even the most advanced technology can be humbled by the forces of the natural world, and that the human element remains the most critical safety system in aviation. The incident led to significant changes in aviation safety, including better training for pilots on engine flameouts due to ash and improved detection methods for volcanic plumes. Captain Moody was later awarded the Queen's Commendation for valuable service in the air. Next, uncover the untold story of the plane that landed on a highway.